What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the farm. We are getting ready for our first boil of the 24 sugar season. Today is Saturday. On Wednesday, we tapped 65 trees. By Thursday, we had about 110 gallons in our large collection tub on our gravity-fed sap collection system that we've been working on. I'll put a link to that right here. Go check that out. That has turned out pretty sweet. And then yesterday, we collected about another 32 gallons. So sitting right at about 140 gallons of sap collected in the last 2 days. And that's awesome because that will give us enough to get the boiler fired up and do our first run. Got a little bit moved over here already. About an inch and a half in the divided pan. We are running the same 2 foot by 4 foot divided pan that we have always run in the past, with our big pre-warmer on the back. I believe that holds about 12 gallons in the back. I'll have to do that math. Maybe I'll correct myself later in the video. But we've got that mostly filled up. Got everything else. We've never transferred anything over to the cooler this week because we just were plugging away with the RO. My RO is really struggling right now. I had put off buying new membranes. The membranes are the ones that go in the kind of grayish, the opaque filter housings there. The purple is just a pre-filter, but the membranes go in those two. And I have definitely had a severe loss in performance. I've pretty much had it running constant, probably for 24 of the last 36 hours. And I have only managed to pull off about 45 gallons of water. And this should be pulling off 10 gallons an hour. So I did go ahead and ordered some new membranes. They will be here early next week. So we will do a video on that, putting the new membranes into the RO and getting it back up running to its optimal conditions, the way that it's supposed to be running. But in the meantime, let's get the fire going, let's get the steam rolling, and let's start making some sugar. So to start the season this year, sugar content is a little bit low. I used my bubble hydrometer that is calibrated for measuring Brix in the sap, so it's the low end of the scale. And right now we're only sitting at about 1.5, 1.6% sugar, which isn't too big of a deal. It just means that that 40-to-1-ish ratio that it normally is, 40 gallons of sap is about a gallon of syrup. That number is going to be a little bit higher right now, which a little bit more firewood, a little bit more time back here on the boiler, but same sweet syrup at the end of the day. So like always, you're probably going to want to have some kind of strainer. I have this little like spider kind of thing, I think is what they call it. Probably used for like getting stuff out of like deep fry oil. But I use this. You'll get some frothy foam that will accumulate on top of your sap as you're boiling it. And that's not stuff that we want. Since we can scoop it off, get it out now so you don't have to rely on your filter later to get it out, because your filter already is going to be working hard enough trying to get out all of the sugar sand and the niter. Especially if you're using like a cone filter and you're relying on gravity to get your syrup filtered, do yourself a favor and get everything out that you can beforehand, so you don't have more that has to work its way through that wool or that Orlon or whatever it is that you're using to filter your syrup. While the boils died back a little bit because I just fed the fire, you really can see three distinct things, the three distinct colors going across our divided pan here. So over here on the right, that's where the sap comes in, comes down, goes back up, comes back down and works its way over to our draw off. So you can see the pan is pretty well sweetened now. We are much darker over here on the left-hand side. Definitely not the syrup yet, but you can start to see the way these divided pans work. So what that allows us to do is we are able to do multiple draw-offs as we are boiling. We can bring syrup off of the pan down here at the draw-off while we are still adding raw sap out of the pre-warmer. So we can be all the way to syrup in the bottles while we are still adding raw sap to the pan. So that's the reason that we run the divided pan versus the batch pan. It's probably the same amount of boiling time, but it's a little bit less, probably a lot less time on the filtration, especially since we use the vacuum filter and not just like the gravity cone filters anymore. We should be getting pretty close to our first draw off here. Just as a note, I like to keep all of the components to the vacuum filter. I just put them here on top of the pan to try to keep everything as hot as possible. We don't want the hot syrup going into that cold filter and it robs the heat from the syrup, because we want to be able to go straight from the filter into our glass bottles we have over there. So we need to be above 180 still after it comes through the filter. Also have the filter material up in here, the pre-filters, and then the Orlon or wool grill filter. So we'll mix up our little diatomaceous earth slurry. We'll put that on top of the filter, both of the filters, and that will polish the syrup and get everything looking gorgeous as it comes through the vacuum filter.
Getting ready to start the draw off here. I'm checking it with the refractometer. Looking to land about 66 bricks. I know that it'll keep going after that. You want to be between 66 and 68. Making my diatomaceous earth slurry here. That acts as another filtering agent. It grabs the sugar sand. Putting the vacuum filter together here, Orlon filter, pre-filter. Then we snap that holding tank retaining collar on top, add the diatomaceous earth slurry, start the draw off. We're going to be trying to keep the fire real hot here. We want to keep the boil going, and we want to keep the syrup as hot as possible. It filters best. And then also, once we're done with the filter, we're going to be immediately bottling. So we want to be at 180 degrees or above. So we're sanitized as we go into our bottles. Caps go on the bottles. I store them upside down in the box.
All right, that was a pretty smooth first boil. Ended up with 12, 14, 16, 18, 19 full 12-ounce bottles. So that's a little bit under 2 gallons. Like I said, the sugar content really was pretty low to get the season started. So even though we had about 140 gallons, you would have thought about 3 gallons of syrup. Not getting there yet. Now, there is definitely still some sugar left in the pan. I don't really worry about that too much, especially here at the beginning of the season, because I know I'll probably be boiling again come here 3 days from now. So I will just start adding sap back to the tray, and it is kind of already somewhat sweetened. We'll be adding the raw sap here. We've got some high sugar concentration going on already here. So that'll help me get to a pretty quick first draw off, which is kind of nice. So hopefully the run continues over the weekend. We are going to start cooling back off a little bit, which is good because we got warm this week and stayed warm. So while we did flow really, really good there for a day, it did start to slow back down. So going to see freezing again, hopefully 2 days from now. And I'm hoping that really kicks the flow back up again. So all in all, great first boil. I was really happy with it. you know, kind of just spend as much time remembering how do we do all this? You know, that's kind of how it is for me the first year. The first time every year is kind of just like knocking the dust off and remembering all of our processes and procedures and stuff. So if there's anything you guys would like to see specifically, get more info on something, definitely let me know about it down in the comments. I'd love to get the information out if any of you are after anything specific. But hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, think about hitting that thumbs up, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And until next time, y'all, we will see you.